So 17.
All right, so we'll roll in here. Welcome to How They Get Hacked, episode 17. We are 18 weeks into this, but this is episode 17 because we skipped a week. But we didn't want to skip this week, even though we can't record on Friday live. Yep. So we decided we had a few minutes between a thing happening and another thing happening, so we all came here. Well, they came here.
There you go.
I live here, I feel. So anyways, this is Tom Lawrence.
Xavier D. Johnson.
Maurice Nash.
All right, and this is...
You know, this is how they got hacked. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah,
this
no.
is how they got hacked.
This is how they got hacked.
I'm actually upset. My Xavier D. Johnson has gotten tainted by some hooligan that has been arrested. It's a mugshot. It is a reason why I go by Xavier D. Johnson. And not Xavier Johnson. And now that reason has gone out the window. So now I have to get a whole new name.
It's all right.
My name, this is Tom Lawrence.
Now, we're this is going to be a little bit shorter an episode, but I'm going to cover the first thing because even I found this out today and I tweeted about it. It was hysterical to me, and it's sad, funny as actually what it is. So another city gets ransomware, not news, right? That's like every day, and we could keep laughing about it and sad about it, but this one is next level. These ransomware people are getting more efficient. So a city got ransomware, and then they didn't hear from the ransomware people right away. They then heard from their insurance company because the ransom people knew who the insurer was and just called them up and started negotiating. Like they just cut out the middleman.
Your people breached already, man. So listen, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to cut you a deal because it's going to be more expensive if I put it on the screen.
Yeah. Like that's just great. Like you know, I wonder if the next iteration of this is, look, we're in your network, the finger's on the trigger right here, so we can do it a couple ways. I hit the button, it's going to take you a lot of time to recover, or for a higher fee, I won't do that, and you'll just pay up now, and you don't have to do that whole, recover thing.
It'd be a shame.
Be a shame if we did that. I mean, it's
going to get to that point.
Yeah.
Man.
If this is the next level, I mean, this is...
I can't. They called the insurer. That's just.
Yeah, it's cutting out the middleman if there's a middleman to be cut out.
And it makes. And we were talking about also the reasons why you would compromise a city, and really any company, any place that has a public directory makes it a step easier. So if you're doing your open source reconnaissance, you're trying to pick your target. Because by the way, these are each spear phishing campaigns because they have a lot of information about them, and they found out that. They know who works where because they hit a court system, they hit another city. But think about it. You have the org chart published on the city. I know who the judges are. I know who their assistants are, the paralegals, step by step, each person. You have the entire city. You know who the elected people are. You know who the city council members are. A lot of that stuff is all published. All the meeting notes of even the local cities here, they're all published. Like all the details on there. So if you take a little bit of time, do a little reading the notes, you have a lot of information. Matter of fact, that information, let's get real specific. So last city council meeting, they vote on a change because of something that happened or approval for a new business moving in because, they have to do zoning approvals and things like that. Then people within the city, let's say the building department, are looking for said documents. Zoning approval from city council meeting on this date. Great email title. And I'm not telling you how to do this, but these are how these are done. This is not a how-to. This is what happened. And they follow through with this information, and it seems very trusting because then they spoof the email address to make it look like it come from the superior. They know who the people are that process the request are, and it's no more than a phone call. If you don't know, call the city. Hey, I need to get this zoning permit sent over. Who do I send it to? So it's that easy, and cities are easy targets for that, to get them to open attachments, to get them to open documents. It's not. It's kind of a broad target, and top that off with the fact that they know they're insured. They know they have a methodology to pay. So you could pick a target that may also be public, but if that target doesn't have money, it's why they don't rob broke people. So one bank robber asked him why he always robs banks after they caught him. He shrugged his shoulder. He goes, well, that's where the money's at.
Right.
It's a real obvious answer. Cities have got insurance. So, let's go after that. So when you know who the insurance provider is, and you know they have a history of paying. Now, this is actually going to be scary. What if we flip this? What if this is the other attack vector? What if they're in the insurance company? They know everyone. Their target list is everyone that company insures.
Exactly.
Well, the insurance company would have to be aware of that, right?
I think that is the next step.
Ooh, but I mean, at that point, the insurance company That's a racket
But
almost.
if they don't know, like they're inside this insurance company, and there's no,
Yeah.
they're not, the
I see
insurance
what you
company
mean.
doesn't
Yeah.
have,
So
they're
they're
not
targeting all the companies that the insurance company
right.
is insuring. And
Oh.
so they're like, yeah.
That would flip it around even.
Ooh. Now,
if the phone just keeps ringing off the hook from one insurance
so
company.
what would you call that? Is that spear fishing? What? That's like machine gun fishing at
Yeah.
that point. I mean, that's like
dynamite fishing.
I know spearfishing isn't specific enough for what's going on here.
Right.
That's like, have you ever?
It's just blending the ocean.
Have you guys ever seen canoodling, where you go get the catfish?
Oh,
You
yeah,
just
with
stick
the
your
fish.
arm down
Yeah.
in there and you just pull out the
Yep.
giant. That's what that is.
Yeah. and some of these payouts, $400,000. That's some canoodling, man.
That's some dollars right there.
And because they're now have a track record of paying, you're gonna. Well, here's the other thing. We don't know who's behind the attacks. Attribution is really difficult, as we've mentioned, but you're obviously going to have copycats. Even if it's not the same people doing it each time, there's going to be more companies, because once you see there's a $400,000 prize at the end of the tunnel, you're going to get more people going, well, it was that easy?
Right. And I mean, not to mention, what does this do to the Bitcoin market? Right? So not only does it continuously delegitimize the uses of Bitcoin, but not only that time, when I allegedly go to move my huge amount of Bitcoin out of the market, what happens? The price dumps.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's all like, oh man, what do you mean? It just went down 40% today. Like, yeah, because somebody just like cashed out from the last 2 years of ransomwares and they just moved this, $10 million.
Yeah.
I mean, this happens. People are like, oh, that asshole who just made that huge sale. Yeah, that asshole is a bigger asshole than you realize.
Yeah. It can really disrupt some things.
Yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess. I'll just leave links to those stories. I didn't bother sharing them on the screen here. I'll just throw them in the links below. But it's because the interesting part is only the angle we talked about. It's only one blurb. The only way I know this is from one news site that mentioned it. So I don't have a lot of other information, but I'm hoping maybe there's a better debrief about it that gives us more detail. But the news site said they got called from there, and that's why it sounds like they don't say this, but it sounds like why they fired the IT guy. Kind of like, what good are you? You didn't even talk to the ransom people, insurance people did negotiation. Why do we have you?
Right.
You see, they got fired. Poor guy. He just wanted to go to
Poor
work.
guy.
He just wanted to go to work.
Work harder.
Work harder. Secure your. I don't know.
Secure your shit.
It's a difficult challenge because some of the problems of getting ransomware is even if you do have the backups, if they compromise those, there's a problem. If you have them and they didn't compromise them, the time it takes to restore. They're talking about I think they had 200 or 300 computers. 200 or 300 computers I got to restore. Well, the part that really confuses me more than anything when I see this is the fact that it took down so much of their network. Just that alone tells me they don't have proper network segmentation.
Right.
So the fact that your phone system and a list of other systems that were compromised on here, like how are those all tied to what? And how does someone with a low level privilege have access to all the things top
Why
to
is
bottom?
the jack that's on the outside of the door in the lobby connected to the phones, connected to the AD? Right, and who else has been plugging into it?
Those are some of the questions that I just in my head ring up, going that doesn't make a lot of sense. Like how are all of those things happening like that? So, but let's look at this next story because cop a load of this. I love the Redditors headlines. 1 terabyte of police body camera videos found lounging around in public database.
Only 1 terabyte? I feel like it's got to be so much more.
It is. I'm positive. There's
sure
more
this
out
one
there.
It was
This
found
is
later
the
on. It's
tip
more
of the
out
iceberg,
there.
yeah.
I'm sure it's more out
Yeah.
there.
And yet another example of absent security controls. Troves of police body camera footage were left open to the world. Anyone can siphon off, according to the InfoSec Biz. And it's a whole bunch of information here, and it's kind of facepalmy because this is the problem back and forth. When it comes to a lot of these companies, they don't take security seriously. The ones that build this, it's sometimes lowest bidder, or my cousin knows a guy and he's working for the city in government contract bids. I don't do government work because I will tell you it is annoying to me and disgusting to me how much politics are involved in doing government work and how much a friend will both get you the job and the other friend, if there's some election changes, will end your career of working at a city or being a contractor for a city. But in short, one of the problems they're seeing is amateurs setting up databases, and they're exposing them publicly. And this has been an ongoing problem that I think I've covered a couple topics, like even on my YouTube channel, but we've seen this. If you just start scanning the net, you'll find all these people who bound the database ports with default credentials to a public IP because it's become easier to put it in the cloud. There's a lot of data and everything else. It sounds like that's how some of this was done. It was just leaked out there. So it was in a SQL, in a MongoDB database. Yeah.
Right.
Yep, so Tate said he came across the files while doing an online intelligence work for a client. Yep, just while searching the internet, he said he came across a dark web hacker thread pointed at body cam material, still prone on the internet. Following the forum's links, Tate to police clips have been stored insecurely and was described as a few open MongoDB and SQL databases, just publicly facing.
Yep, and it's still out there.
Yep. And this is, it's like some of those databases that they were looking for who owned them. There's a few of them they found that we don't know who they belong to because of the data in them, and that's just a big mess. And it leads to more of these problems related to it. I don't know. It was, I tweeted about this and someone said, just make everything public, like body cam stuff. And I'm like, yes, no, there is privacy. If a cop pulls you over and you get in an argument with them, it's not necessarily that you want that to be public.
Right.
But under Freedom of Information Act, under certain circumstances, there are times you want that to be public. I have had friends that have had problems with the police, and the police have conveniently lost that. We've worked with a few law firms on that. That's been an interesting problem. It gets conveniently lost, especially when you know what's on that camera. Mm-hmm. The audio was just missing from one of them that we recently had to work on about a month or two ago.
Did it get found?
No, they got a video somehow no audio. I mean, the audio would have been really interesting because it looked like there was a discussion that would have solved the problem.
Give more context to the.
You give a lot more context to it. But it's funny, two cops show up. The audio on one worked, but the far away cop that was like the backup that was standing far away, their audio worked fine. The one that was up close, fail. So, and my understanding is not supposed to. I know people who actually specifically work on that stuff, and that's a whole different topic. But obviously, with more of that on there, we're going to see more of that type of hacking. So
Justice or justice?
Ooh. Now, this is one of those things you have to remember when you fire employees.
Yeah.
Fired employee hacks and shuts down smart water readers in 5 U.S. cities.
Easily.
Yeah. A Pennsylvania judge has sentenced Adam Flanagan, 42, of Bala, I don't know how to say it, C-W-Y-N-D-P-A. Cinewid, PA's got some weird, spend a few minutes, you can go through Intercourse, PA, you can go through some really cool city names.
Intercourse, PA.
PA has the best city names, and even some unpronounceable ones. To 1 year and 1 day in prison for hacking and damaging IT networks to several water utility providers across the U.S. East Coast. The sentence was passed down last week for crimes committed in spring of 2014. And this is not the first time this has happened, where they've gotten rid of a contractor, and this has happened at banks, this has happened at there. This is why you have to have a really clear, not just hiring access set up. You have to have a reverse of that. So everything you gave them privilege to, you have to unwind, because there's not always one single database. You also have the problem where, let's say the coworker, and this happens with contractors. This is one of the things that Equifax got dinged on, is they did not remove contractors when they were done. And you can't fire someone and then go, oh, I'm sure he never sold or served anyone. I'm sure he knows no personal details and could guess a password of any coworkers. It sucks, but it might be worthy of changing passwords of coworkers, anyone that they may have interacted with, or go full and, hey, we've lost someone who had a lot of credentials. They worked in the IT department. Everyone's got to do a password reset. It's going to suck, but you have to do this. We don't know what information they may have taken with them. It's all preventative measures, because you don't want to have them hacking water meters all the way around. So.
Yep. And I mean, it looks like this guy was right, like at the network level, at the base station, which like the tower base station or something like that. So that's a really interesting place to still have access to, out of all of the places to have access. Because sometimes, people are like, oh yeah, we gotta, kick them out of SharePoint, turn off their email, all of these internal IT stuff. But then, often people forget about the third party and external stuff that isn't consumed by corporate IT, but could be consumed by product or engineering, right? There usually are two separate sides of the houses at companies. The larger you get, there's the product side of the house, and then there's the corporate side of the house. In this case, this guy was working for a water plant, so it seemed like there was a quote-unquote engineering side of the house and a corporate side of the house, and he still had access to potentially more than even just this base station.
And this is that piece that you need to deal with in security. That's the most boring part that I hate but have to deal with is the process and procedures, making sure that they're clear and they're documented. They're boring. It's like I call it the boring side of security. It's the bureaucratic side. But there's a reason those guys have lists that come in and audit you, and it's a lot of paperwork, and you're like, they go, where's your process for hiring? Where's your process for this? How'd this person get access to this? It needs to be documented. So if you go through these security audits, you're going to go through some of that. It's less than fun. It's the bureaucratic side of it. But in the end, you check off that list when you're done. All right, we're going to fire them today. Check this box, make sure, even if, because you never know when someone may have granted them privileges, you still run down that list, and that list may have more on it than you hired them, because at some point in time, someone may have granted them access to something else. And we know AD is awesome, but not everything is federated in AD, so sometimes you got to remember those other things. Did you get his door card? Did he have a WPA password that wasn't tied to AD, et cetera, et cetera? And I will, because I mentioned Equifax, I don't know if you guys seen this. Executive knew about breach and sold shares for almost $1 million. He got sentenced. Ha ha. That made me happy.
Of course. He got Equifucked.
It's funny, back on the other article, it lists three other former employees of companies that have done similar things. So a former programmer who planted a time bomb in his former employer's database to delete crucial financial data in the first week of the new fiscal year. Another guy, a former sysadmin who decided to delete his company's servers and change former colleagues' passwords on the day he was fired. And then another guy, a former IT employee who altered his former employer's equipment settings, bringing a paper mill's production to a halt.
Yeah, you have to look for things like even a dead man's trigger could be in there. And that way they know if you do something to them, it goes off in 90 days. While as long as they're working there, they know they show up to work at least every 90 days, so they hit the button and reset it each time. And yeah, you got to watch for that. And here's the thing: don't be afraid to ask your IT department, because I run into this all the time, where we try to do a takeover and you're like, "Oh, our IT guy's really nervous about anyone looking at his stuff." They should never be. I'm not nervous at all about people who want to like audit how we do things, because I'm very open about it. I'm not trying to hide anything. I mean, I'm going to hide my passwords, but I'm not going to hide how we do things in procedure-wise. So if someone's like, "Oh, no, you can't see the secret sauce code that I'm writing here at all, that's for the company that you pay me to write," there's a suspicion either A, they're just not doing it very well, or B, they've got something hidden in there. One of those two reasons. There's not a reason for them to be super secret about all that.
Right.
Those are definitely concerns. Do you guys get anything else? It's coming up on, unfortunately, the time we have to. Well, you guys have to take off.
Yeah, I don't have much.
Yeah, it's a shorter week. We all been really busy with the holiday weekend, and we just want to get at least one video out. So we rock this out here.
Yep. Awesome.
We love live interaction. We miss it. I know. It's not like I want to be typing to people right now, but can't. So we will be live next Friday, because we're going to be doing stuff this Friday, and have a great 4th of July.
Happy 4th.
Which fun is, it's a holiday. My friend from England always teases me. He's like, "You know what they call 4th of July in England?" I go, "What?" He goes, 4th of July. I was like,
July 4th.
He goes, "It's still the same date in every damn place.
Yeah.
It's just a party time for us." We're going to go, hopefully we'll blow stuff up.
Are you blowing any things up this year?
I should.
Faxes, any printers getting massacred?
I think
I should. I got a whole lot of fireworks.
Some Throwback Thursday video at least.
Yeah, I should. I'll go live and
I might take some fireworks and chop up some footage for the viewers.
We're gonna put together some.
Show them how we do for 4th of July. People
quarter sticks.
Because we know we have a lot of international viewers who don't, may not know what.
So y'all never got to play with dynamite before. Yeah. Oh, good quarter sticks of dynamite coming soon.
Yeah.
It's a 4-day weekend.
Yep.
For me, it's 4.5 because I would usually be at work right now.
Oh, yeah.
Tom is at work right now.
I can't define what I do as work anymore, so.
Back that ass up. Back.
Just hanging out with Xavier.
You gotta back the ass up, man. That's a dope ass shirt.
Yeah. Or keep the crimp hand strongs.
There you go.
Those are available. We just got those shirts
I can't
online.
wear that to work. I know that I'm gonna get in trouble if I wear that to work, so I'm just not even. I'm not trying it.
Oh well. Well, it's not a live button, but it's still a cool glowy red button, so you can hit that and it stops recording.
That one right there?
Yep.
See you guys
All right.
next week.
Later.
Later.